Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Blake's Books. Today I have another TBR video for the month of April 2024. I've got 5 books on my TBR this month, one of which is a holdover from last month that I did not get to. Another is a holdover from a couple months ago that I didn't get to. And then 3 other ones that I've never talked about before in one of my TBR videos. So first things first, the one that is from last month, which I'm not going to spend much time on because I already talked about it last month. That is going to be Jedi, one of the Star Wars Legends books. This is one that I've had for a long time, and I just feel like I should probably read it now because I've had it for almost 2 years now. So I figure it's about time that I actually get to it. From what I know, kind of a companion to the Jedi Academy trilogy, which is cool, and focuses, I believe, on the character of Corran Horn. Yeah, I've been wanting to read it for a while, just never got around to it, so I figure now's the time. And I was planning to read this in March, but I didn't get around to it. Was a little, just didn't have the time to get to it, so that is going to be my first thing that I go for this month. Also, I just want to mention very quickly, this isn't part of my TBR, but I am also most likely going to be finishing up Dune early in the month as well, holdover from March, but hopefully should, not spend much time on that. But as far as the other stuff, I do have one other Star Wars book on my TBR, which is the new Jedi Order book, the first book in the Force Heretic trilogy. I cannot remember the actual subtitle for this book, unfortunately. I know one of them's Remnant, and there's a couple other ones. I can't remember which is which. But I'm going to be reading the first Force Heretic book this month. A lot of times with trilogies, because this is, even though it's within the new Jedi Order, it's a trilogy within the new Jedi Order. And in the past, a lot of the time, I have read trilogies back to back. For this, I've decided that I'm probably going to space it out a little bit. Not hugely. I'll probably do each book with maybe one other book in between just to space it out a little bit, just because I've found in the past when I've done trilogies back to back, I tend to start getting a little burnt out by the third book, some point through the third book. So I just don't want that to happen with this. But my plan is to read Force Heretic 1 kind of towards the end of this month, and then read 2 and 3 next month in May. So that way I can space them out a little bit, read this towards the end of the month and read another book, then read 2, and then another book, then read 3, things like that. So that way I won't be doing them all back to back, just to make things a little easier on myself. But I'm really looking forward to this. I am finally getting towards the end of the new Jedi Order series. This is the first of 5 books that I need to read to be done with the series. And once I'm finished with this trilogy, I only have 2 left. So I'm getting very close to the end now, which is very exciting. The one fantasy book that I have on my TBR for this month is going to be Of Dawn and Darkness by Will White. This is a book in the Elder Empire series. If you've been watching the channel recently, you would know that I have reviewed and read the first book of the C trilogy of the Elder Empire series and the first book of the Shadow trilogy of the Elder Empire series. This is kind of 2 trilogies that take place concurrently and overlap at multiple points in the story for each trilogy, which for the first books in each trilogy that I read, which are Of Sea and Shadow and Of Shadow and Sea, those overlapped at multiple points. Really enjoyed both of those a lot, and this is the next book in the Sea trilogy. And then after this, I will be reading the next book in the Shadow trilogy, and then after that, I'll be reading the 3rd book in each respective trilogy. Really been enjoying this series so far. The first book I thought was really good, and the second book I actually really loved, even more so than the first book of the C trilogy. I say the second book. The first book of the Shadow trilogy was better, in my opinion, than the first book of the C trilogy. It's weird. The structure of the series makes it weird to talk about, basically. But the second book that I read I liked better than the first, and so I'm very excited to get back into this series with the second book of the C trilogy and the 3rd book of the series that I am reading. Then to finish things off, I have 2 horror books this month. Very exciting. I don't do a lot of horror, so 2 books in 1 month is a little unusual for me. But the first one that I'm going to be talking about is The Last Ritual by S.A. Sidor. This is an Arkham horror novel. Those of you who have seen past TBR videos may be seeing some deja vu here, because I've had this book on 2 of my previous TBRs. Once in October, last October, and then I believe again in January. And it's just one that I never got around to. I just never had the time to do it. And then by the time I, got to the end of the month, I was like, I don't have time. I want to get to some other stuff. And so this one just kind of get left by the wayside. So this is one that I'm going to prioritize for this month, much like iJedi. iJedi I'm going to do first thing after I finish Dune. And then this one may be directly after that, just to make sure I get it done finally. But this is an Arkham horror book inspired by the work of H.P. Lovecraft, which is kind of Arkham Horror's whole thing. Kind of Lovecraftian cosmic horror type of deal, or not even necessarily cosmic horror, but just inspired by the work of Lovecraft and his contemporaries. So excited about this one. I've read one other Arkham horror book, which was last October, which was The Mask of Silver, which I thought was okay. It was good, not amazing, but it was good. So I'm hoping that I enjoy this one as well, and I want to read more of the Arkham horror books and more Lovecraftian books in general, so I'm excited for this one. The final book that I have on my TBR for this month is a Stephen King book, and that is Carrie. This is the very first book that Stephen King ever published, and I've been wanting to get more into Stephen King for several reasons. He's a big horror author. He's a big author in general, but especially for horror, which is a genre that I want to get more into. He's from my neck of the woods. He's from Maine, which is where I'm from, so I feel a little obligated to check out his books also. But I really enjoyed Salem's Lot back in October. That's the one book of his that I have read so far, and I really enjoyed that book a lot. So I wanted to read more of his books. I bought a couple more of his books recently, and then Carrie I bought back in January, I believe. So I've been looking forward to reading this one. Don't know a whole lot about it. I don't know a whole lot about most of Stephen King's books. I just know which ones are popular, and this is one of those very popular ones. So I was like, when I was looking for this, or when I got it, I was trying to find a Stephen King book that I could get, and this one was for cheap, and I was like, well, that's one of his most popular books. It's his first book, might as well check it out. And it's also quite short. I think it's only about 300 pages, so it should be a pretty quick read as well. So looking forward to that. Don't really know much about it, but I've heard a lot of amazing things about it, so hopefully I enjoy it, just like I did Salem's Lot. So that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of the books that I'm going to be checking out this month. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.